Welcome on in, guys. Tobin here with you, and thank you for checking out the channel. Miami Heat lose their first play-in game, 105-104. And now we'll venture back home and await the winner of the Bulls and Hawks. I am recording this as that game is going on. I do not know who that is. We will deal with that tomorrow. Crushing loss today. Miami Heat had a great first half. Had a great first half defensive game plan with the zone. But look, I will say going into the first half, I wasn't super cocky for a couple of reasons. One, I know this Miami Heat team, 12 points is not very much. And you had to have known that, Philadelphia was going to go on some kind of run. They were turning the ball over like crazy. I mean, yes, Miami caused some of that. Jimmy Butler had 4 steals. There was some disruption. Miami played a really gritty and tenacious first half and really did feel like they made Philadelphia very, very uncomfortable. But the shooting was terrible on both sides of this. Like, if you look at the first half, the Heat, while they led by 12, they shot 42%. They were 6 of 20 from downtown. Jimmy had gotten to the free throw line a bunch. That was one thing that was very noticeable. But, Philadelphia, they were 3 of 18 from downtown, and everybody was talking about the zone. Oh, the SPO zone, it's here, it's back. But obviously, 3 of 18 for 3 is going to be a big factor of that. They really did a great job on Maxey and Embiid. Both of them were struggling from the field, and they need somebody else to step up. And I think, from here on out, this is probably going to be known for Heat fans. If this season does come to a crashing halt, that we'll always remember the Nick Batum game and what that did to the Miami Heat's playoff chances. Very physical game, but there were definitely some crazy things that happened in this one. But besides Miami getting out to a great start in the first quarter, in the first half of this game, the thing of most consequence, and we're all going to be sitting here waiting on right now, is the health of Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler wasn't able to finish this game. He had allowed Kelly Oubre to beat him on an and one that really was the dagger of this. He got beat on a cut. Great pass by Joel Embiid, but you could just see that Jimmy wasn't able to corral him at all. You look at his free throws, everything was in the first half. Once he had that halftime break and basically stopped moving on it, he pretty much had the 3-point shot, and that was it. There was just nothing in the tank there for Jimmy Butler. And yeah, it was brutal. I mean, Kelly Oubre just goes up like Bruce Lee and comes down and hits Jimmy, kind of like knees him in the knee as he's coming down, and Jimmy Butler's in a lot of pain, and Spo's sitting there and he's like, "Hey, what the fuck was that?" You could what the fuck was that? And they go to a shot immediately of Alonzo Mourning and Pat Riley, and Pat Riley's just like, oof. And to my surprise, Jimmy's just staying in the game. And he stayed in the game and he played great. He was causing havoc. He was hitting threes. But there was, you could just very much notice, all right, as the game was going on, he basically was just spot shooting, and that's all he had left. You had a really, really great first half, especially from DeLon Wright. Miami then started hitting some threes as the first half had come to an end. You got a 3 from Caleb Martin. You got a 3 from you were getting 3 balls from DeLon. You were getting 3 balls from Tyler Hero. And so you go into the first half, you're up a dozen, and Stephen A. Smith was kind of peacocking around because he's like, I told you Embiid wasn't gonna be great. But I think as we're all used to this season, that the shoe's going to probably drop on Miami. And the crusher for this one is it really felt, oddly enough, because that crowd was Deadsville. They were starting to get going and they were starting to hit some shots, and they were getting it. They were starting to climb within it. But Miami always just seemed like there was a point where Joel got a bucket on Bam. Maxey got a nice little step back, so their starters starting to get it. Jimmy comes back and he hits a 3 from Tyler. Points right at him. Bam gets a huge block, and Caleb Martin's fouled going to the rim. And you're thinking at this point in the Heat, all right, I think they were up at 11 at this point. Put yourself up 13. Misses the first one. Crowd's starting to go nuts. Free chicken. Free Chick-fil-A. Which is crazy because when we were sitting here, this crowd had nothing to cheer about. They were dead. Dead, or they were booing. They had no interest in their Philadelphia 76ers. And Caleb Martin, this is the next free throw. Crowd's going insane. And Nicholas Batum answers that. Bang. He hits a 3. They get it to, then a turnover by the Heat. Goal 10. Cut to 6. So you go, leads immediately cut in half in a split second. Brutal sequence by Caleb Martin, who, he plays like a fireball. Like, he's going to play all over the place. And to that point, I thought was playing okay, but that was a brutal sequence from Twin, man. That one's gonna stick out in your mind in this game of like where it really unfolded. But the Heat were still in a pretty good spot. The Sixers were obviously going to make their run, and they were going to try and get this thing in their answer. But they were getting, Batum, when he hit that 3, when he started hitting threes, it really eased the pressure on Philadelphia. You could just feel a lot of that stuff. And I think the thing that you really notice, you get to the end of this half, Jaime Jaquez, there was a crazy sequence at the end of the third quarter where you had Joel Embiid. He was looking really bad. And, quite frankly, it felt very much like the game was about to sink with him. Like, because he was not doing much in this game. And then end of this, there's this possession where he misses a jumper. He's dying to shoot. Misses a jumper over Kevin Love. Sixers get the rebound, kick it back to him, and he just yaks it over. Kevin Love comes back. He hits a 3. Then Campaign answers it, and then Jaime Jaquez, he closes out the third quarter. He hits a 3. And Jaime, will obviously get to the killer play that ultimately sunk this game for Miami. But Jaime, on his first stage of consequences with the Miami Heat, thought he played really, really well. For a rookie in that type of environment, and especially you got nothing today offensively from Bam Adebayo. Bam had some key moments. I know that he does other stuff, a few big blocks, a few big rebounds here, but you really, you didn't feel much of him at all, especially in that fourth quarter where it felt like it was slipping away. You knew that Jimmy Butler was cooked by this point, like he was not doing anything. But going into the fourth quarter, Miami has a 5-point lead, but man, their guys are struggling. Bam and Tyler are both at single digits at this point. Tyler was 4-17 going into the fourth quarter. Jimmy was 17 points and 4-16 shooting. A lot of that was first quarter. Like Jimmy Butler basically willed his points all on he had a couple of threes, a couple of steal buckets, and then was getting fouled. That injury really, really changed him, man. It is a huge bummer. I'm not making excuses. The Heat definitely had their opportunity to win this game. We'll get to it in just a second, but that was brutal. Bam. The Heat were going to need somebody to step up, and Tyler did get it going. He puts up 16 points in the fourth quarter. He hit some big shots for sure, but it was this was just it was a heartbreaker, man. So Philly gets the lead. Nick Batum puts them, I think, finally on top. They get there. Nick Batum hits a 3 again. And the dude's just on fire. He just keeps hitting 3 after 3 after 3. Bam pulls the Heat back to within 2. Paul Reed gets an alley-oop that puts him 84. And then Jimmy gets his pick 6. I think that was his only bucket. This was really noticeable. Jimmy gets another pick 6 in this game, and it brings the Heat to within 2. But you can see they go to break immediately, and he's really grimacing. Like, it's like, oh boy, he's in a lot of pain. And they go to the break, and like you can see the camera, they're going to like, he's like reaching for the bench. So it wasn't great. I don't know what this means for Friday, but they come out of it. There's a timeout by Philly midway through. Jaime Jaquez gets a slam, puts Miami up top. And then there was a couple of big plays. Hero's able to get the Flamingo, so Miami gets a little bit of breathing room to go up 3. And Maxey goes to the rim. There's a hell of a putback by Nick Batum off of his miss. Spo calls timeout with 4 minutes left. And this was coming out of that. Joel Embiid goes to the line, and Spo, you could see him immediately goes, that was a fucking flop. He's so mad that Jaquez bid on it, but he's also so furious with the officials for biting on the Embiid stuff. And I mean, he's a windsock, dude. He's the biggest person. I've never seen a guy. I don't understand how he's the most immovable force in the league, and yet he's always on the floor. I don't understand it. And JJ Redick just earlier in the game was just like fawning over. He's like, oh my God. He's like, people get at Joel Embiid for foul baiting, Doris, but come on, that's skill. And I'm like, it is? Because he got 2 big fouls on him on Bam early in the game where they were having, a lot of success before the Heat made their run. And like Doris is like, I think that's a play on JJ. And Doris loves her some Joel Embiid. Like, think like if you would ask who are Doris Burke's like favorite, it'd probably be like LeBron. Obviously, if you ever heard Doris Burke call a LeBron game, like LeBron could just like blink and she'd be like, "Oh my God, did you see that? What he just did right there?" But Joel Embiid might be second because Joel Embiid who could not hit water if he fell out of a boat for a lot of this game, and did not have a good shooting game. Really, was struggling. The Heat were like, we're going to let Joel Embiid, they backed off him for a really critical 3. Because what did he finish? He finished 6 of 17, 23 points. He gutted it out. Don't get me wrong, but like he was not having a great shooting game. And there was one where he hits this big 3 that gave him the lead back, and Doris is like, idiots. How do you do that? I'm like, I don't know. Like trying to. Now he hit that one, and then he had the big and one. That was an absolute killer. I don't know how he was able to flip that in. Haywood Highsmith fouls him there because, Kyle Lowry, that rascal. God, he's a pain in the ass. There was a point where Kyle Lowry was helping us out. Like, he was refusing to score, and he was doing some silly stuff. But then he does that vet savvy stuff where after the flop, Lowry pops it out of Jaime Jaquez, and they give it to Embiid for the 3, and Dorisburg's like, oh, how do you do that? So Haywood Highsmith would then get a runner. He ties it at 96. And then the Heat get a stop on it, and this was the killer play. So the Heat get a stop on Embiid. He's short. Bam gets the rebound. Less than a minute to go, and Kyle Lowry's on Jaime Jaquez. He tries to do a handoff to Tyler Hero, who gets pushed in the back by Nick Batum into the back court. He touches the ball, foot on the line. They call back court, Sixers ball. And yeah, that was a killer. Oubre gets the bucket and one. Jimmy loses them. They go up 3. Spo calls a timeout. And Nick Batum blocks a Tyler Hero 3 ball. And that was pretty much all she wrote. There was, they'd go back and forth with the game. One thing that was noticeable once they got to that point, though, after Tyler Hero got blocked and they were starting to play the inbound game, they took Jimmy Butler off the floor. He basically didn't close the game for what game time, I guess, it was like the last 20 seconds, but you know how that foul game goes. So, and they didn't even notice it on ESPN. I was like, oh, Caleb Martin's out there, and been and Caleb Martin, got benched after his display in the third quarter. So, yeah, just a brutal one, man. The Heat definitely had their chances to set them up as the 7th seed. Reminiscent of all year. You're going to think about a few things here that were all mirrored in this season. And the first of them is, Jesus, they can't score. So bad in the half court. You're going to notice that, the injuries, which were a story all year, bit them even in game. You weren't able to have Terry Rozier for this game. Duncan Robinson didn't play in this game. And then Jimmy Butler getting hurt. And, and relinquishing double-digit leads. Like, just all of those things, themes of the season, and all of them came to haunt Miami. And you have to wonder what this team is thinking about with their star going into Friday night, whomever wins this second playing game. But I got to be honest with you, man. Like, I would be surprised if Jimmy Butler played Friday. And I'm not suggesting the Heat are benching him. You could tell, like, this guy was in a lot of pain getting through that game. Not very comfortable. We know Jimmy Butler with lower body injuries. That's not something that is quickly turned around. And so now you're talking about, okay, is he going to even be back by Sunday for the Celtics? And so, yeah, it feels very much like the Heat season ended tonight. It does. Just because not only are you going to go face a Celtics team, but you're facing a Celtics team, and it seems like your star's not going to be good to go. And that's a brutal feeling. So Miami's going to have to mentally get over a lot of stuff, because I think they're going to be kicking themselves at this one with all the opportunities that were there for them to close this thing out. Where they were in the third quarter with a chance to maybe put this thing away, with some of the execution late. And this one stings. This one definitely stings. It felt very much like Miami. In many years, you go into a game like that on the road and you kind of bully the team and you get them out of the game, and Miami doesn't let that one slip away typically. But this year, it's been a different energy, man. It's been a different, disappointing energy in their way to get things over the finish line. And obviously, like, look, you're Eric Spoelstra and you have this game plan. You don't think Nick Batum is going to crank back the clock to 2015 and start doing what he did today. And I think if you asked Eric Spoelstra, like, hey, I go into a game, and yeah, my stars didn't score, but you had Tyrese Maxey 6 of 16 and Joel Embiid 6 of 17. And you're going to go down with Nick Batum, and he's going to have 6 threes, which, far and away was, the best on their team, really the only guy on their team who could shoot today. You're going to be like, all right, I guess we're going to have to find a way. We're going to have to live with that and find a way to win that game. And you hold them to, if you were to say, like, hey, you come into this game, you're going to hold them to 105 points. Can you find a way to win that game? If I told Eric Spoelstra before that, I think he would be unbelievably thrilled with the Heat's opportunity. But, a limping Jimmy Butler, a Tyler Hero who took a little too long to find his shot, a Bam Adebayo who just really never got in an offensive rhythm whatsoever, and he never really had any kind of a run in this game. Going to be kicking themselves over this one, I think, for sure. I am proud of myself for not hitting the bottle right after this game, though. But to be fair, I thought the only hope I gave myself that they were going to win this game was I go at halftime, I have a giant cup of Cafe Bucel because I'm like, oh, this is going to be one of those nights. Not going to be able to sleep. I'm feeling a little good. And now I'm not going to be able to sleep, but it's just going to be thinking about Nick Batum and the Sixers fans cheering over free chicken. Man. And Jimmy Butler, of course, and his leg and his health and his future. Painful, man.